Hello and welcome back to another episode of Average Joe, the series where I will be taking a look at a vehicle and telling you whether or not I believe it's worth the average player's time, or in this case, their money. In this episode, we'll be looking at the T-55AM-1, a Rank 6 8.7 Soviet Premium MBT. Now this tank has a whole list of good and bad characteristics, so with that being said, let's jump right into the good. Let's start with the firepower. The T-55AM-1 has a very capable 100mm cannon with two very noteworthy ammunition types, APFS-DS and, uncommon for the battle rating, APHE. The APFS-DS round on this tank can pen nearly anything that it can see so long as you aim it correctly, with the APHE having a very high post-pen damage so long as you're able to actually get through the armor. Pair this with a laser rangefinder and an average reload time for the battle rating, you have a very capable sniper and CQB fighter on your hands. To pair with this cannon, you also have a 7.62 coaxial machine gun and a 50 caliber machine gun mounted on the roof, which makes anti-air relatively easy compared to other vehicles that might not have the same luxuries. Unfortunately, the horizontal and vertical turret traverse for this vehicle are pretty slow compared to other vehicles at the same battle rating, making it relatively hard to get the gun on target before your opponent unless you knew they were there already in the first place. And to make life even harder when it comes to getting your gun on target, your gun depression and elevation angles are both below average for this battle rating. Only being able to look down 5 degrees is a pretty big detriment, especially considering the fact that about half the maps in the game, you're gonna have to peek over a hill in order to shoot a lot of the enemies that you see. You also have no thermal sights to speak of, only having night vision, which, though useful on night maps and darker environments, is still not exactly critical to your survival compared to a thermal. However, fortunately, to aid your survival is your armor layout. There were only about 3 or 4 times in my several hours I spent playing this thing to get footage that I died without losing my breach first, and basically having to be dismantled before I could actually be finished off with a shot to the side usually, or a bomb. And speaking of getting breached, expect it a lot. Nearly every time that I got shot in the turret, I lost my breach, and most people know that T-54s and T-55s are pretty easy to deal with as soon as their gun is gone, so that's going to be the first thing that they shoot for the second they see you. So this thing is going to keep you alive pretty well. You're going to get disabled pretty quickly, you're going to lose very important things quite often, but it's very common that as long as there's some cover near you, you're going to be able to get to it before they hit the killing blow on you. And speaking of getting to cover before dying, the maneuverability on this thing is pretty good for the battle rating. You're far from the fastest thing, but you are also far from the slowest. It shouldn't take you that long to get to the front or get to a flank, do whatever you need to, before the enemy gets a shot on you. And even if they do, remember, that armor should keep you alive, and if the armor doesn't, odds are your breach or fuel tanks will. So because of all of these capabilities, this vehicle can really do just about anything you need it to. It's maneuverable enough to get to where you need to be, so you can be either on the front line with your capable gun and armor, you can snipe people from a distance with your laser rangefinder and dart, you can really do just about anything you need to do in this tank. It's actually so good at just about everything that it was hard to find things that it wasn't good at to really mention in this video, which kinda led to me just shutting off my brain while playing this thing. I know, it's the stereotype, brain-dead Russian players, but really, I basically shut off my brain for the last, 10 matches that I played in this thing. I truly don't think I can overstate the point that you don't really have to try in this tank. It's one of the few tanks in the game that, so long as you know the basics of War Thunder, it will basically handle the rest, in my opinion. But unlike other vehicles that have this sort of stereotype of being basically played by the game and not the person actually using it, like the Term 3 or the 2S38, this thing I didn't feel was overpowered. I legitimately felt like its gun and armor were fair for the battle rating. I feel like its maneuverability wasn't absurd for its capabilities. It just genuinely felt like a fair vehicle, but a good vehicle. With that being said, I do believe a skilled player with this vehicle could easily make that statement false by completely destroying a lobby and just sitting at the spawn of the enemy team, just shooting shell after shell with nothing that they can do to counter it. However, in the hands of the average player, I do believe that this thing is just good. I personally think the best way to describe this vehicle is the T-34 of mid-tier. It's just capable of everything. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, before I get into whether or not I believe this vehicle is worth the price tag, I just want to say it is a $60 pack premium. It comes with 2,000 Golden Eagles and 15 days of premium when you buy this vehicle. With all of this being said, let's get to the part that you were all probably waiting for. Do I think this vehicle is worth the $60 price tag? No. Personally, I don't believe a good vehicle is worth $60, even though it's a premium and it can research the entire Soviet ground tech tree without penalty. I don't think that this tank is worth $60. However, if you get a sale, like if you get this vehicle while it's on sale, it is worth every penny in my opinion. You will get your money's worth if you buy this on sale. Especially if there are vehicles at top tier that you actually want for the Soviet Union. In my opinion, this thing is a much better purchase than the 2S38 or the T-72 terms. Now, before I close this out, I just want to thank you all for watching, and please let me know in the comments if there are any vehicles you want me to do for this series. I am open to just about any vehicle, especially if I already own it, because that makes it a lot easier for me to do these videos if I already own the vehicle. But if I don't own the vehicle, don't worry, I will try to grind my way to it, or if it's a premium vehicle, I'll see what I can do. Anyway, thank you all again, have a good one.